Hi, welcome to another episode of IR-Tainment,
Today our guest is Pak Irman.
which is our lecture about Indonesia foreign policy. So in this episode, we're just gonna talk about the movie Truman Show and how it connects with the international relations, global policy, and even foreign policy. Yeah.
That's true. It's also about media narrative. That's the main highlight of the podcast that we are going to do with him.
Hope you guys enjoy. So, in a world where things are, complicated, society tabak, and the ever-changing shift in geopolitics, do you get bored of today's world?
Of course, it gets tiring, especially when trying to find the truth from the media, and because all of the narratives are given to us in a certain way using certain methods that doesn't necessarily comprise all the sides so that we can actually know which one is right, which one is wrong. So, and I think regarding to this, it is shown quite well in the movie The Truman Show.
Okay, so there's this movie, Pak, titled Truman Shows. There's this man named Truman. He's living in this perfect world where it's all sunshine and rainbow. Pokoknya utopia banget deh. And long story short, si Truman ini lama-lama realize that hidupnya kayak aneh dan dikontrol gitu. Semuanya udah teratur dan terjadwal, and ternyata in the end of the movie, everything in his life from start to his right now, it was televised. Jadi dari kecil hingga dia besar itu kehidupannya ditonton sama jutaan orang seluruh dunia. At first I thought Truman Show was just a movie or fiction, tapi selama studying in IR, ternyata that movie is closer to us than we thought. Here's what I mean. Jadi di film itu si Truman ini takut terhadap laut lepas karena waktu kecil dia bersama bapaknya berlaut dan bapaknya itu tenggelam di laut. Ternyata it was planted by the TV director. It was fake. His father was just an actor like everybody else in his life, and that's what makes this story so real, because it shows that control doesn't always look like force. Sometimes it just feels like natural. And in the real world, narasi yang paling berdampak dalam sehari-hari biasanya dibuat oleh state. So before we go further, Pak, what do you think? Why does state love to make narrative?
Why do states love to
Love
make
to make
narrative?
Yeah.
Well, because they have to control their environment, right? I mean, it's like states always face external and internal environment, and they have to be able to control it in order for the policies that they make will be fulfilling their national interests, right? So I don't know what you mean with narratives. I mean, it's like the narratives can be something that they actually make, and it is not always something that is true. I mean, so this is something that they make up in order for them to actually say, I mean, it's like have certain image portrayed to their people, to their constituents. Say for instance, I mean, it's like this is what is happening nowadays with the U.S.-Israel war with Iran, especially if you follow what President Trump, is saying almost on a daily basis. He basically, posted in his Truth Social account, 5, 6, 7 times a day and everything. And sometimes this is on, he posted it in odd hours. Say for instance, he said that, I mean, it's like Iranian Navy, Air Force, and their leadership are gone, basically. I mean, it's like he keeps saying this. So he's setting up a narrative for the American people to see that, the war is actually going very well. In reality, it's not. Okay, in reality, America is actually struggling with this war, and I mean, it's like I just read on the way here. I just read something like a report from the CBS News that says that no, Iran actually still has a very potent in armed forces, everything as shown by their ability to actually interdict. I mean, it's like traffic in the sea lane traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, say for instance. So this is what Trump does, right? But why he does that? I guess it's more about creating an environment or making a narrative, creating an environment that is, suitable for his purpose. Okay, suitable for his purpose, not necessarily something that is actually based on actual truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we, gali lebih lanjut nih Pak, in 2003 the US like push a narrative that Iraq had a weapon of mass destruction, even though it, ternyata nggak terbukti. In this case, does narration legitimize foreign policy?
It's quite complicated to answer that because on one hand you have a foreign policy that is actually being driven by certain agenda, right? And usually this is where the leader's idiosyncrasies actually comes into the picture. Leaders like, I mean, it's like I wouldn't say that Trump is actually a leader that is unique. I mean, it's like he's definitely one of a kind, but I mean, it's like he's not entirely unique because you have, especially in countries, where the leaders are actually very strong, like the U.S., Indonesia to some extent is also the same. I mean, it's like so it's not only Trump, George W. Bush or George Bush Jr. The one who you said that invented all these lies about Iraq having weapons of mass destruction, say for instance, loves to do that as well. Okay, not to the extent that Trump is doing it nowadays, but I mean, it's like he's not the only one. We used to have leaders like that too. I mean, it's like in Indonesia we have leaders like Sukarno who would like to have a narrative. I'm not saying that it's a lie, but it's something that about his perception of the environment in which that all these environment are out to get us. So so you have confrontasi, say for instance. I mean, it's like with Malaysia at that time, because Sukarno thought that Malaysia is actually designed to actually crush Indonesia. Whether it's true or not and everything, I mean, it's like it doesn't matter. But for the leaders, the way that they view the external environment, the external milieu, is the truth. It's the truth. So George W. Bush, George Bush Jr. actually believed that Iraq actually has weapons of mass destruction. Trump also believes that Iran was on the verge of actually creating a nuclear weapon and everything. And he said in his narrative, he said, in 2 weeks' time, something like that. And everything. Whether it's a lie or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the leaders actually believe that and everything. And that's the dangerous part of it and everything, because there is, in international relations, there is no world government.
Yeah.
So whether something is true or not is not decided by any authority. It is decided by individual leaders and everything. Usually individual countries and individual leaders.
So, I have a follow-up question regarding that, regarding
Yeah.
world government. So do you think that we should have a world government? And if there is a world government, like, does it make sure 100% that things like this would not happen again?
No, no. I mean, it's like a world government is utopia. I mean, it's like it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I mean, it's like there are too many countries in the world.
Yeah.
There are around 200 countries in the world who's not, who are not willing to actually let go of their
Yes.
sovereignty. Okay, so what happens, I mean, is that international relations is about a meeting of intersubjective minds. Okay, it's not that much different actually from communities that we have, like maybe in your neighborhood you have youth groups and everything like that. It's not that much different. I mean, it's like and there is also theory of sociology, say for instance, that says that I mean, it's like I mean, what do they call it? Trust. Okay, public trust or social capital is something that is setting the community apart. I don't know. I mean, setting the community together.
Okay.
Of course, there is law and in the national context. Okay, but the law will only be there when there is legal or where there is a breaking of the law. Okay, if you don't break the law, you don't feel the law being around. So if the same with international relations, that a country broke international law when they broke the international law, right?
Sure.
If they don't break the international law, then you don't know that there is international law,
Okay.
right? Because I mean, it's like countries are just relating to one another peacefully and everything like that. So it's like, don't expect something like like a world government to actually be the policeman and
Okay.
everything to actually control that. The problem in international relations, I mean, it's like this is a primitive society. In a primitive society, those who are strong controls. Okay, I mean, it's like you cannot actually expect that say a country like Tonga, say for instance, will actually be carrying the same weight as the United States or China or Russia, and everything. So that's a problem of international relations and everything. I mean, so this is a primitive society in which the strong actually command.
Okay. Most powerful ones are the one who conquers basically the
Yeah.
world. And why do you think is that? The majority of people remembers of Africa. It's like it's old. It's not that modern yet and everything. And then like Asia too, except for China, like Southeast Asia is still not that modern yet. If you want to see it, like Southeast Asia or Europe or like the US, why do you think that is?
There are two ethical debates in international relations. One, I mean, it's like that says that even without the presence of a world government, there are certain ideals that countries, that states should abide by. One of these, I mean, it's like one of these norms, say for instance, I mean, it's like peace, and I mean, it's like the other one is self-determination,
Okay.
and the other one, I mean, it's like non-interference. These are the cardinal rules of international relations, right? So countries, I mean, it's like, especially the post-colonialism international relations. I mean, it's like that give a lot of emancipation for the non-European, non-Caucasian people. and everything, so this includes us, this includes, you mentioned African countries and say everything. I mean, it's not, I mean, this is something that, even without an international government, the world government, there are certain norms that countries should abide by,
Okay.
whether or not it is codified in international law or not. This has been going very, very well. I mean, it's like in general, in the majority, most countries in the world are actually following these creed. I
Okay.
mean, following this view that I mean, it's like like Indonesia is not interfering about, even though say Indonesia's relations with East Timor, with Timor-Leste, say, for instance, we had a bad history because we used to colonize them. Okay, they decided to become independent of us and everything. They're very small countries. Their population is just around 1 million or maybe less, and everything like that. And if you've been to Dili or some parts of other parts of Timor-Leste, you will wonder whether this country will survive as a country in the future. And in fact, they are very dependent on us, on many things. And I'm like, do you know that their SPBU, I mean, it's like gas stations
station,
there, are mostly run by Pertamina.
Wow.
Their banks are actually run by Bank Mandiri and everything like that. So it's like that. But we don't rule Timor-Leste, right? And everything. I mean, it's like we don't actually tell Timor-Leste, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, and everything. And Timor-Leste, vice versa, also know that I mean, it's like they want to have policies that is not going to offend Indonesia. So that's, most countries in the world are like that. Okay, the second, the opposite part of the debate, I mean, is that might makes right. Okay, so if you are strong, then you can control and everything. And this is what countries like the realist type of countries like the US understands it. Okay, the US understands that since I'm strong, I can do whatever I like, and I can actually control other countries' policies. Might makes right. So according to the US, the right thing is my way because I'm strong. Okay, so that's there are two debates that have been happening for a long time. It's not only the US, Russia also feels the same thing. China to some extent feel the same thing. We, Indonesia, to some extent, to a lesser extent, also feel the same thing. So that's why we built our armaments, our military and everything like that. Exactly because we want to be seen as someone or as a country that can actually control the external environment.
All right.
So there are two debates like that.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for answering the follow-up
Yeah.
questions. Now we're going to go back to the initial topic regarding conflict that has been actually very hot since like
topic, yeah.
the couple of months, a couple of years regarding Israel and Palestine, which is specifically Hamas. Okay, so Pak Irman, I remember in our class like a couple of weeks before saying that you agree that Hamas should be demilitarized. And I want to ask further about that because the media, this is about media narrative, a lot of media, not 100% of course, but the majority of what people see, they show Hamas as a resistance group. Yeah. And now here you are saying that Hamas should be demilitarized. So
Right.
what are your views about that and why do you think about that?
I think when I say Hamas should be demilitarized, it means that Palestine should become a normal state.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hamas is not Palestine army.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not part of the Palestine armed forces. It is a group like in Indonesia, probably we know it, like Pemuda Pancasila or something.
Okay.
Basically thugs, right? Thugs. But they become militarized because the Palestinian state is not given the opportunity to become a normal state. If they become a normal state, then Hamas can become part of the Palestine military, right? There is no Palestine military.
Okay.
There is no Palestine military. There's only Palestine police force and everything. So that's why Hamas and Islamic Jihad, say for instance, these groups sprung up because exactly they want to do resistance, but they couldn't do it through the proper channel. Okay. So, if, actually my thinking, is that it shouldn't be misunderstood.
Yes.
It's like Hamas should be demilitarized if steps towards achieving a full statehood for Palestine is done.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
it's done. Then they can become part of that. This is what a lot of people confuses because they think that Hamas is freedom fighters, right? And everything. Hamas is freedom fighters. They will react, whenever they were attacked and everything, So, but the more that you have this kind of thing, the further away you become from achieving a normal Palestinian state.
That's true.
Okay, so it's like so nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about how to set up a proper Palestinian defense force. Okay, they always think that there's a PA in the West Bank and Hamas is controlling Gaza and everything like that. No one is talking about a political solution out of this. The Palestinian political solution. Right now, unfortunately, because Israel is being controlled by the ultra, radical, radical right. It's like the likes of Benjamin Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben Gvir, and everything like that. It's getting further and further. That kind of solution. But I believe that one day all these ultra conservative will be gone.
Okay.
Okay, will be gone, and Israel will become a normal state too. Okay, now that is the time when we think about how to achieve a normal statehood for Palestine. If Palestine has achieved a normal statehood, there is no need for Hamas. There is no need for Islamic Jihad. Everything. You see what is happening in Lebanon as well. Hezbollah there and everything like that. Because the Lebanese government is very weak. It's very, very weak. So, you will have something like this when the government or the state is weak. So, you remember when we were in Reformasi, maybe you weren't born at that time, but during Reformasi, there were so many paramilitary groups. It's like the conflict in Ambon, the conflict in Poso, say for instance, happens because the state is weak. Okay, so the state should be, reasonably strong for these phenomenon of paramilitary groups to actually die on its own. If it's achieved. In the Palestinian case, unfortunately, that's a wishful thinking now.
We recommended a book titled Loving Big Brother, Surveillance Culture and Performance Based by John E. McGrath. This is related to George Orwell's 1984. Yes. where in that book, Big Brother is the ultimate symbol of a totalitarian state. He is an omnipresent godlike figure who maintains control through fear and forced surveillance. However, in this book, John E. McGrath flips the script in Loving Big Brother. He argues that we have moved from a culture of fear to a surveillance culture based on performance, where we, including us, we who basically use social media, no longer hide from the camera. We perform for it. We love Big Brother because we invite surveillance into our lives through social media and reality TV shows. So in this context, who is the real victim of narrative and media manipulation? Is the normal person actually the victim of it? Are we actually the victim of it? Or are we actually now participating in media and manipulation?
Okay, your first initial question when you know, at the start of the podcast, you were saying about the narrative by leaders.
Yes.
Right? Whereas in reality, actually, there are so many narrative, counter-narratives produced by the people.
Okay.
The you and I, and everything like that. Whether or it's like, I think the narrative created by the leader, we can always point out, you lie.
Yes.
Everything like that. It's not that easy when it comes to you and I.
Okay.
Okay? So, you know, I mean, it's like you can always throw a narrative out there on so many things. I mean, it's like it can be politics, it can be football, it can be, you know, I mean, it's like how you relate to your neighborhoods and everything like that. You can actually throw so many narrative, and then some people can actually throw a counter narrative without anyone knowing which one is true. Okay, so that's a whole lot more dangerous.
Yes.
Okay, now because then, you know, half truth is the most dangerous of all.
Yes.
Agree.
Okay, it's you know, if it's a lie like what Trump does and everything like that, everyone can point, you
Yes.
lie and everything like that. Everyone knows that you lie. Only certain, you know, I mean, it's like deranged people who thought that you are, you know, telling the truth and everything. But when you say something about half truth, right, that have certain components, that is actually true. But you're not seeing it from the larger picture.
Yes.
Everything like that. That's the most dangerous of all. Everything, you know. So I'm a Democrat, okay, meaning that you know, I mean, it's like there is the states should have limits, you know, in how they can control our lives.
Agree.
You know. So say for instance, what we do in our private lives is us. It's our responsibility. Okay, it's not part of the states and everything like that. So that's why I never believe in censorship, say for instance, you know, and I never believe in banning of websites, say for instance, something like that. But the issue is that, you know, I like to feel like I'm a responsible person, okay, and why I'm responsible, because I think I'm educated, okay. I think I'm educated. I know my way around. I have seniority, say for instance, that I know in the midst of all these, you know, traffic and everything like that, I can actually point out which one is true, which one is not.
Yes.
Okay. But not everyone is like me. Okay, not everyone is like me. Not everyone is you know, not everyone is having a PhD around here.
Yes.
Okay, not everyone is you know, having lived through, you know, half a decade, you know, or half a millennium to know the difference and everything. So this is kind of dilemmatic, right? Dilemmatic. How much control, you know? So I now began to think that maybe some sort of control is needed. The problem is that we need to agree which one or how much control do we want to exert on this and everything. I kind of agree with this thing that ban the social media for someone who's below 15 or something. You know, that the government actually has. I kind of agree with that and everything like that. What I don't agree, I mean, it's like disbanding all these websites and everything like that. I mean, it's not something that is supposed to be the state's responsibility. The state should be actually providing the parameter and everything like that. Inside it, the state shouldn't be, intrusive in that and everything.
Regarding your answer, because I remember, like, if I'm not mistaken, a philosophical, a philosopher back then said, the good thing. This is not a direct quotation, but the ones that I remember is the good thing about democracy is that everyone can speak. But the bad thing also about democracy is that everyone can speak too.
Yeah.
And that's very true regarding this, especially
Yeah, I
regarding
mean, it's
half
like
truth.
Plato,
Yes.
say for instance, said that democracy is good, but it should be limited democracy.
Yes.
Meaning, like the democracy of people who are learned, who are, who have the, material wherewithal that they can actually, think in the best way, which is basically why representative democracy comes about. The problem, I mean, is like in our, in the Indonesian context, in our parliaments, those that are popular tend to get elected. Okay, so that's why so many artists, so many movie stars,
figures,
singers, and everything like that come into our parliament.
Yeah.
So in our when you see the quality of our parliament, it's not the plateau like parliament. Okay, it is a parliament that is made up of thugs and people who are not that learned and everything,
Okay.
But that's the dilemma that every democracy actually faces.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. I think
That's all.
that's all from us. Thank you so much, Pak.
Thank
for-
you. Thank
Thanks
you
so
for
much,
having
Pat.
me.
So that was our talk with Pak Irman. It's pretty interesting. I definitely agree with his take on how half truth is much more dangerous than a lie.
That's true, and how media and narrative is part of the everyday world nowadays. It has been done back then, and it has been going on till now.
So hope you guys enjoy, and don't forget that we have also Lip IR, which is a platform for all of our books and our sources from this video. So if you guys want to check that out, link will be in the description. Thank you for watching.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.